Hey, everybody. Oh, welcome back to Creating Haley. I'm Kimberly here at Creating Haley, and in today's episode, we're going to make something out of some of these crumbs. So, I just feel like doing something fun and whimsy, and I thought this is going to be my template. The 2.5. This is not Omni Grid. Now, keep in mind, I'm not sponsored by anybody. I don't get any cut from any sales or anything. I don't get kickbacks from anybody. Nothing. So every video to date has been sponsored by me and me alone. And also not Fetch. Fetch is the company I work for. My pet sitting company. But anyway, yeah, so anyway, I was working. So after work today, I went outside and I did some yard work, and I was really digging into the dirt there, and then it started raining. So I figured I'd come in here and I'd make a video. And here it is, like, I don't know, 2 hours later, and I'm trying to make a video. So I'm just reaching into this bucket, this bin of fabric scraps that I have. Now, these aren't scraps. These are crumbs. So I feel like something crummy today. Let's do some crumbs. But this is my template. And obviously this crumb right here, this little piece, is too big. So, not using that. But let's see what we are going to use. So I'm just going to pull from this bucket right here. You can't even see it. I'm just going to be pulling from this bucket. And we're going to make something. So yeah, I don't, but this is going to be, as big as it's going to be. So 2.5-inch block. So whatever I pull out, we're going to make micro. So I'm going to call this micro crumbs, because it's going to be small. And I'm going to show you how to do it. So like this, like something like this. Like, this is probably what people throw away. Actually, I got a whole bunch of these. If I just pull this out, like, this is a cutoff. I'll tell you what this is a cutoff from. A Turkey Dresden. So find that video. Let's see, that was probably last year's Turkey Dresden. It's 2024. Turkey Dresden. These are the cutoffs. This is the waist from that. So, yeah, find that Turkey Dresden, and that was a lot of fun to make, so go ahead and make that. But anyway, right, like, people would have probably thrown this out. Look how tiny it is. But no, did I? Absolutely not. It didn't even go in the pillowcase, and the pillowcase I have is for pieces that are like this, small, that definitely people throw away. I put it in a pillowcase because then I use this as stuffing for other things, which I've only used as stuffing in this pin cushion, which is huge, and I made this probably in 2023, so you can watch that too. Anyway, yeah, look how big this is, but it's dense. It's really dense because, you know, this fabric is dense. So some of it has puff in it, and some of it's really dense. So I would probably not make another pin cushion, and look how big it is. I mean, it's huge. But I would probably not make another pin cushion out of just hard fabric. Anyway, let's get to it. So I'm just going to pull the bucket is right here. And I don't want to keep that in the line because the light behind me. But the bucket, it's right under my arm, right here. So I'm just going to pull from that and then bring it right to the sewing, there we go, the sewing surface right here. And then I have the ironing, boop, right here. Okay, so everything is super close. All right, so let's see, what can I pull? I'm just gonna, so I pulled this and this, and I'm just gonna stick these two things together. And I'm also going to put this piece on there too. Now this is a batik, but I'm going to put the batik on here first, like this, and then I'm going to put this over top of it, right at the point where this, like, it's kind of the same color, so you probably can't see it, but right at the point where that fabric right there starts to curl up, to turn up, you can see right there. I'm placing that down. And yes, I am going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance, so that's going to take up probably the majority of this white cream part. If not all of it. So I'll do like maybe a scant 1/4 inch. Alright, this is shifting because it's so small. There we go. Alright, so that's the line. Now when I open this up, it looks like that. And I'm simply going to cut it right here. So first I'm going to iron. And you can't really see that because of the, there we go. Maybe that's a better angle for you. So that, and then I'm just going to cut it right there. And then this is definitely going to be lost, the seam allowance. But let's find another piece. Maybe like this orange one, or maybe this plaid one. And I'm going to place it at an angle. Let's see, and if I flip that over, that'll be mostly straight. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to put the, so there's a couple ways I can do this. I can put the thick end on this side and the thin end down here. Or I could put the thick end down here and the thin end up here, which I'm going to do that. But you can see that I'm going to lose a lot of this in the seam allowance, and that's okay because it's wonky. It's a scrappy crumb. Scrappy crappy crumb. Yeah, just like this, okay? So yeah, so it's going to look like this on the other side. You can see that showing through. And I'm just going to use this straight line and a 1/4 inch on that. That is my plan. That's what I'm doing. And sew through all of the layers. And then when I open this up, look at that. See, it just leveled everything out. It evened everything out. Everything is caught in the seam allowance, and it works. Great. So I'm going to iron this because, you know, if you've been following along on my channel, I like to work with a flat surface, so everything must be flat. Okay, now, I kind of want to do like maybe a different color or a different theme. Or maybe I can use this, but yellow. Here we go. How about purple? Here's a weird cut, right? This is awkward. So let's see. Will this piece fit on there? No, but this will. This might fit down here. But this little piece will fit up here. So let's do that. So I'm just evening out this whole top right there. 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now remember, my template, I only want to make 2.5 inch squares. So I don't have to add a lot. In fact, that might be too much on that side. But I'll probably just cut this part off. Right? And so, let's see. What else can we add on there? So what I'm going to do here is trim this part off. Actually, I'm just going to even that up, trim that off. And then when I flip this over, I'm going to trim that off. Okay. So this stuff is definitely, trash. This I put in my pillowcase, this little piece. Maybe, or maybe I could still add it to here, but no, it's really small. Talk about micro. This is definitely a micro. Maybe I will add it in here, but this is definitely trash. Okay. Maybe I can add this micro right here. You know what? I'm going to add this micro crumb right here. Yes. Yes, I am. Watch me do this. This little micro crumb right on the edge here. Look at that. Okay. And flip this up. Voila. There we go. We just added it. Yay. Okay. Beautiful. Okay. Nice. All right. You know what? We could add this purple to the side too. Beautiful. Let's do it. Whoop. Open that up. Nice. Like so. Here's my template. I need to add just a little bit more on one of the sides. And I want to make this or this smaller. One of these smaller. Let's add this orange right here. Like so. And then, so I only sewed off a little bit there. I'm going to trim that part off. This can still be used in another crumb block. And then I open this up. And look, talk about micro. Look at that micro. Yeah. Iron this. Now to me, this is too much out here. So I want to add something here. Let's add maybe this green part. Actually green. Let's do here we go. Here's a green. Here's two greens. I'm going to add this green part. So then I'm going to add this to here. Yeah, I'm just going to add this to here like this. And then I open this up, and now this becomes a new block. So I'm going to trim this part off. And I'm going to still use this. In fact, that and that fit perfectly. Look, I couldn't have planned for that any better. So I'm simply going to place this on here. Now these are getting very tiny. This square is less than 1 inch. This square, let me see if I can lift it up. This square right here, this is less than 1 inch. This is less than 1 inch. Obviously, you can see that. So, these are micro. These are micro pieces. Let's get them sewn into a crumb square so we could have a bunch of micro pieces. All right, now if I open this up, I have this. I'm going to trim that. And I could put the green on this side right here. Actually, it's a little too small. I want it just a little bit bigger, something a little bit longer for right there. But I still think I want green. Ah, here we go. How about this teal? This is perfection. Perfect. So let's plate that. And again, I just picked it out of my bin right here. And it's a perfect size, the perfect size. Now, does it always have to be like that? No, because I took a bigger piece here. You saw that. And then I trimmed it up. But it's fun. You just reach into your scrap bin, your crumb box, And then you find the perfect piece and look at that. Look how tiny these are. Now these pieces are too big. I'm going to have to trim those down because that's ruining the vibe of micro. All right. What else can we put in here? So this and this I don't want to do. Oh, here's brown. Can we do brown? Of course we can do brown. How about this? I'm going to put brown at the top here. And then I'm going to trim the green. So obviously I'm working on 2 or 3 squares at the same time, right? All right, so if I open this, super. Now for me, this is too much and this is too much. We want micro, remember, micro. So I could do that, but I don't want to. So I'm going to trim right here, and I can use, I'm just going to take it over to the cutting surface right here. Oh, now you guys see what I'm working on. This is going to be a sneak peek for the future. That's going to be a future block. So look for that in the next couple weeks. All right, but in the meantime, I don't know where I can set this, so you can see that I'm going to trim this. I'm going to trim this like this. Right? And then this is too much too, so I'm going to trim this off. Right there. Good. Now we're getting down to micro. Okay. Let's take it back over. Now maybe I could put this right here or somewhere. I don't know. I don't know yet. Yeah. Let's figure out what else we got. We have these too. Here's some white with red. Now you don't have to think about it too much. Okay. I'm going to add the white right here. I'm just going to add it just like this. I'm going to line it up along here and here. So I'm going to trim this off because I don't need this whole tail. So let's take this back over to the machine. Sew it on, and then we're going to trim this up to 2.5 inch block. Open that up. That's what that looks like. I like to iron. Make sure it's flat. And then let's place this on it. Okay. Nice. So I'm going to trim this up right here. All right. But I can't cut on here. So I'm going to use a pencil. So you can see you can do it that way too. I'm simply going to draw a line. I'm not going to be able to see it on this brown, but on this white I can. Okay. So just draw a straight line. And then a straight line over. Great. And there is a crumb block, a micro crumb block. 2.5 inch micro crumb block. And you can clean up all these little threads if you want. Yeah, micro crumb block. Now this is definitely going to get lost in a seam allowance. So I probably should have cut more off of this end than cut this off. But that's what happened. Anyway, so there's that. Now I have one. Okay, I'm working on this one. So maybe let's do the brown on this side and then the green there. So that is definitely going to get lost. How do I want to do this? Oh, and I already have yellow. Purple. Oh, here's a piece right here. Look at this funky cut, right? This is from one of the flowers that I recently did. So check that video out too. So let's place this. Maybe we'll place this against the orange. That's bright, very brilliant. All right, we're gonna do this side because it's gonna get cut anyway. So take this over. 1/4 inch seam allowance. Open that up. Cool. Oh. And if I place this on, yep, I'm gonna have to put another fabric right here. Maybe, oh, here's a diagonal one. Let's do, this is gonna get lost, but let's do this. At a diagonal. And then I open this up. Great. And all this part that was serrated edge, that just got caught in the seam allowance and just made it nice and smooth. Okay. So if I place this on, there we go. That's better. Great. All right. So straight line here. Oh, it's better if you have a rotary blade. It's better if you use your rotary blade. I mean, obviously you can use this. And then I'm just gonna trim this part off underneath here. There we go. And there's that. And then this flat. And then I almost hate to do this because this just creates garbage. But there you go. There's 2 2.5 inch micros. 2.5 inch micro blocks. Micro crumbs. Okay. Now, what do I do with this piece? Good question. That's just weird. So, let's clean this up a little bit. And let's make one more. So what was the one I was working on in the beginning? I was working on this one in the beginning. Let's see, what do we have to add to this? So maybe something over on this side. How about this green and brown right here? Let's do that. We're going to add this green and brown right there. And 1/4 inch seam allowance. Open that up. Nice. Now we know this block is bigger than 2.5 inch. So let's see where we can cut it. Aha, very good. That creates a 2.5 inch block right there. So, where's my pencil? We need to trim this part off, trim this part off, and trim this part off. Great. So, follow that pencil line. Wow. That's a tough pencil line. I can't even see where I drew. Okay. Right there. All right, got it. Now, it is definitely better if you have a rotary blade because I shifted a little bit and you can see this is not very straight when I cut because there was a seam allowance right there and it got a little tight, and then when I cut, I moved the blade, so that's not very straight. Now this part needs to be cleaned up too, but that'll get lost in a seam allowance, so I'm not super worried about that. But that is another 2.5 inch block. There we go. So we have 3 micro crumb 2.5 inch blocks. Check it out, folks. Like it. Look how cute. And yep, they're all different colors. They're all different tones. And they all go together because they're all just jammed in there like they're supposed to be. Look at that. Little micro crumb blocks. I love it. Okay, so we're going to stop here. I'm going to continue making these because I want to actually make a project with these. And I might put a little border around each of these. So stay tuned. This is going to be the first video in a series. I just decided I'm going to do that. These little micros. So micro crumbs, 2.5 inch micro crumb blocks. We're going to make more of these and we're going to put these into a project. All right, you guys have fun with these. And let me know how it goes for you. And let me know if you want to see like a specific project. Put these in like a bag or a, I don't know if a pillowcase would be, maybe, but you would have a lot of these little seams if you lay up against your cheek with that. But yeah, let me know what you do with them. You go ahead and make 2.5 inch micro crumb blocks. I want to see them. All right, you guys, have fun. I'll see you on the next episode. Remember those videos I told you to look out for. All right, see you soon. Bye.